Thank you, Toot, for the hydrate. You'll see in a moment I'm not perfectly set up for hydration, so I appreciate the reminder. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. It is, in fact, Monday Night Crafty Chat. I know, it's that time again. I can't believe it. We have Pow on the critter cam. Yes, last week definitely flew by. It doesn't feel like it's been an entire week since the last time I did Crafty Chat. We're joined by Pow, who is menacingly approaching the camera. She has been pacing all day, so she knows that she's getting a treat each day. I would also like you to look at the back of Peter Pan's head, which is muddy. I don't know how. Hello, Moon. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Give me just a sec. Oh, I'm still getting some static. Hang on. Testing. How are we on audio? Okay. Well, let me know if it gets weird. I'm just carefully watching my audio bar for unexpected spikes. I adore this microphone, but it is a slightly more finicky than the USB, just by the very nature of it being more analog than USB. Oh no, I think the curse of the Windows Update audio issues has hit us, unfortunately. I'm hoping that fixed it, but we'll find out. I've heard that many streamers are having audio issues with the latest Windows Update, and with OBS because I haven't been experiencing issues using this microphone to play Phasma with, unless Toot has been hearing stuff and just thought it was the game. So we'll see. I might have to do a little bit of reinstalling. Hopefully we can get through the stream. POW is a lot of fun to watch. That's why I'm not trying to stress out too much about not being able to talk to you for the last few minutes, but POW is highly entertaining. And welcome, but you got my soul. Welcome to Monday Night Crafty Chat. And thank you, Toot, for our acronym of the day, which was PTOGTBL, which is a knitting stitch that I've had to do a couple of times. She is quite mad about Wendy. She's mad about Wendy. She's mad about her mermaid. She's just mad. So as always, if you don't recognize who's on the critter cam or you want to know a little bit more, you can use our command !critter in the chat, and it'll always pull up who's on the chat if I've remembered to update it. Who's on the cam, I should say. As well, when we're doing Crafty Chat, you can use the command !project. Yeah, it does look like POW's coming from my mic. Okay, I'm going to give this one more shot with this mic. If not, I might just switch to a different mic setup for today and do some troubleshooting off stream because I don't know what's going on. I've literally had OBS open most of the afternoon because I was setting up some stream stuff and testing it. and I hadn't had any issues until I started the stream. But yes, you can see some beautiful growth lines on Pau. Those are those tiny white lines around her scutes. That means that she is experiencing new growth. They don't grow new scutes. They have 13, and they just get bigger with time. And as they grow, they get the little very light blue whitish lines around them. And you can tell that means that they are happy and healthy and doing well. Just flipping us over to the hi Gigi. I thought I'd give you guys a picture of what I'm dealing with here. Oh, Gigi just triggered another ad break. Gigi. I am so sorry. I don't know how to stop that. Gigi. Gigi. I'm just gonna apologize. Oh, what did you do? Oh, what did you do? Ah. Just writing a quick note to everyone who's currently stuck in the ad. Yeah, he managed to stand on my keyboard, trigger an ad break, and then make my stream preview full volume so that it started doubling up the audio. Oh, my son, everyone. Purple t-shirts on Gophers to bring lawlessness. Nice. That is a well-constructed one. I deliberately did one that was a little bit more difficult today. I'm glad I did. And thank you for the resub. I super appreciate it. Gigi does as well. Thank you so much for the resub. That means so much. Oh, thank you. That made my day. Yeah, no, exciting channel news actually. You might have seen in the title of the stream, but we officially hit 100 followers. Yay, 100 followers. I'm so excited. I was sitting at 99 for like 2 days and I was like, okay, this is great for song lyrics reference, but I just want that one more subscriber or one more follower. I've been working on YouTube stuff, so the words subscriber and follower have become melded in my head. But thanks, but you got my soul for the Prime sub. That really helps. That really helps. I appreciate it. Oh, and did a hydrate. I did not actually drink, so let me just grab some of that. So I've made a few little adjustments to the stream, you might notice. The on-screen chat is slightly smaller. The text is slightly smaller. And it's no longer showing Nightbot's messages. That is on purpose. So if you're wondering like what was different, that's what's different. I did a bunch of like just fiddling with stream stuff today. So, welcome to Monday Night Crafty Chat. We had a little bit of a frantic, scattered beginning there, but I hope you are all well. I hope you had a great weekend. If you're up to anything particular on the weekend, please let me know. And if you have any big plans for the week, also please let me know. But in the meantime, grab something to drink, or in this case, 3 things of something to drink. Grab a project, and let's just chill for a bit. We've got Pow stomping around up in the corner. I've got my sandworm socks that I'm working on here. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Shockingly, Toot is cross-stitching. I know, we're all surprised. My other needle has gone missing. Gigi moved it. No, he actually did. He actually did move it. Porpoises took on giant tuna, but lost. That sounds like a terrible headline. No, Gigi actually did move it when he was climbing all over my desk. I'm glad you do. So we do too. The acronym game is something that we have long played in our house. Toot and Moon especially bounce them off of each other all of the time. So that's why I like to do a stream specific acronym that we can just goof around with, have a little bit of fun. I do try to pick acronyms that are like actual acronyms that people use. So in this case, PTOGTBL is purl together through the back loop, which is a knitting maneuver. It is just as annoying to do as it is to say. Oh my god, Gigi completely destroyed my setup over here. I've got a charging cable tangled up in my yarn now. My son, everyone. Anyways. So you may have remembered, so last week on Monday we did my big whip confessional. Purl too goddamn trying, but legit. That also works. Last week we did a full whip confessional. I pulled out every single one of my whips, all 13 of them, and went through them on stream with you guys and kind of told you where I was at with each of them, what still needed to be done, how I was feeling about them, the patterns, all that good stuff. It was actually a lot of fun. I didn't do any actual knitting on stream last week. I just did 2 hours of talking about my whips, which was great. Phasmo turns Oblivious Gamer to be legendary. That's gonna happen in our house. Toot mentioned that we played lots of Phasmo this weekend, and we're gonna be playing lots of Phasmo this coming week as well. I'm in training now. More on that later. So one of the projects that I pulled out is this, which I actually started last August. Because I wanted to have them ready for spooky season, which obviously didn't happen for last spooky season. But I pulled them out and I talked about them and I was looking at them and I was like, you know what? I really love this project and it's too bad that it's just sitting in a closet. So I had done this much of the first sock. The first sock is now mostly finished. I say mostly because there's a few details. So I had done, so this is the first sock. I had done the jaws, the join here, and I I think around here on the leg, maybe here. I wasn't very far. So I finished the leg. I did an afterthought heel, which is actually a bullet heel. So if I had done this in stripes, the stripes would kind of like circle the heel. I did the foot, I did the toe, I bound off. So I finished this sock in like 3 days after I picked it back up, which is ridiculously fast for me. They are DK weight socks on 3.25 millimeter needles. And once I switched from the circular needles to the DPNs, they started going just so fast. So I say that it's almost finished because I know it looks like a completed sock and it fits okay. But the foot is a bit too short. Like you can kind of see here, like it looks too short. So I'm gonna just snip the toe, pull back the toe, add 9 rows of length, redo the toe, and then over here, he is missing some lovely bright red gums and some teeth. So that I'm gonna do a few tests because I'm honestly not sure exactly how I want to do it. Give me 1 sec. I've just got to futz with the volume of the music a little bit. It's a little bit loud in my ears. I know it's probably okay for you. Okay, I think that's better. So I'm gonna do some tests because I'm not sure exactly how I want to do this. So this pattern, I did use an established pattern kind of as the inspiration of the base, but I'm going wildly off script, making them sandworms. So what I want to do is I want to do a red lip around here and then teeth coming out of the lip. So I'm thinking surface crochet, and then for the teeth doing like a crochet picot. But I want to test it first. So I'm gonna like make a swatch in the blue and then test some different techniques for doing the red and the teeth. Because I don't want to test it on the actual sock itself because that'll stretch out the stitches and leave little fuzzies, and I want to make sure I know what the technique is before I do the final sock. Penny tests our goodwill today by lying. I'm loving these. Like, you guys are stretching your creativity coming up with the P together TBL acronyms. I love it. So this is the plan. So I'm gonna finish this boy, which shouldn't take me too long. And then I'm gonna redo the toe on here, and then I'm going to play around and figure out how I want to do the lips and the teeth. And I have an extra dilemma because the teeth for this inner jaw are white, but the teeth for this outer jaw are striped black and white. And I don't know if I can do that cleanly enough to be happy with it. Like just at this scale. So I might just give him white teeth on both jaws. I don't know. I've got to play with it. I've got to just do some tests and that kind of thing. But I want these to look pretty cool. But luckily, the actual body of the sock is quite straightforward now. Especially now that I'm doing it on DPNs. These are 3.25 millimeter DPNs. I don't usually like... These are also the 7-inch size. I believe that's 7 or 8 inch. And wood DPNs, and those are not my favorite. I prefer 6-inch metal DPNs, but this is what I had, so this is what I'm using. It was either this or circulars, and I was going so slow on the circulars, I just had to switch it up. Proudly, Toot opens gay tour behind Lidwick. Perfect. I am here for Gay Litwick headlining a tour. So it's just take a pencil sharpener on the points to make them short. Tempting. Very, very tempting. Actually, this is a set of 5 DPNs. I'm currently working with 4. Because sometimes when you're setting them up in the round like this, you need 3, but sometimes people do 4 just for comfort. I'm not one of those people. The 5th DPN in this set has been chewed on by a cat, so this needle tip is like all raggedy and it catches on the yarn and everything like that. Products that emit grossness, begone lameness. That's good. Yeah, that's how I feel about the 7-inch wood DPNs. So I'm just doing 12 row stripes. And then I switch colors when I get to this point. So what I do is I do 6 rows of white, and then I put in some waste yarn. And then I do 6 rows of white. So this black doesn't exist. So I just basically do a tube with a toe on it, and then I go back, I pull out the waste yarn, so I've got live stitches around here, put the live stitches on needles, and then I work the heel after that. It's a very handy technique, especially if you don't like doing short rows. I could get better at short rows, so I do them without leaving so much of a hole, but I don't really care enough to improve my short rows. My short row heels. This method works a lot better for me because the heel is shaped with decreases instead of with short rows. It's just a lot easier and neater, and there's fewer holes, and it fits really nicely because you also add a little bit more depth to the heel. But the afterthought heel, short row heel kind of construction that doesn't have a gusset on it, that fits Toot's foot better than a heel flap and gusset construction, which is what fits my foot better. So I'll switch it up depending on who I'm making the socks for. I was actually I was doing some work on my channel, and I was kind of bouncing around Twitch to get some inspiration. So another knitter was working on a project from pretty much the same camera angle, so I felt a little bit validated, less bad about doing it myself instead of doing the traditional top-down. But another knitter, I stopped into their stream for a little bit, and we were talking about socks, and they just reeled off their usual sock recipe, which is wildly different from my sock recipe. Like, I understood perfectly like how her socks would be constructed and the way that they would look, and then when I gave my version of socks, she understood completely how mine would look and how they would be constructed, but they were wildly different constructions, which is really interesting because it really comes down to what fits you better and your just personal preference in terms of what you like to knit. I am also doing decreases at the moment for the calf. So I'm decreasing every 4th row. So I just have to keep an eye on that as well. Phantom of the Opera, Jared the Butler. Love. I do love him. And he did a heckin' try as Phantom. He did a heckin' try. Was it a good try? Not really. But it was a heckin' try. I think most sock knitters that you'll meet, and some people never knit socks. Some knitters have been knitting for years and years and years and decades, and just don't knit socks. That's just not a thing that they knit. And that's fine. Some people don't knit sweaters. I don't knit scarves. It's just a matter of preference. But most sock knitters will have their own recipe for kind of a standard, what we call a vanilla sock. Their go-to, this is what fits me, this is what I like making, and I can do this in my sleep type sock. My default are very, very kind of old school. 64 stitches. Top cuff down. So I start with all 64 stitches on the needle. I do 12 rounds of 2x2 rib. I always do 12 rounds because if I don't do 12 rounds, I'll do like 3 rounds and go, that's an inch. So I make myself do 12 rounds. Because you can't fudge on 12 rounds. And then I do about 6 inches of stockinette, heel flap and gusset, slip stitch heel. For me, 5.5 inches of foot, and then a wedge toe. That's it. I think in my next pair, though, I am going to try out the Afterthought Bullseye heel, because that might be a good fit for me as well. There are dozens of sock heel constructions. I mean, the joke is that there's thousands, but there's a lot. I forgot to do the decrease. Some of them have very silly names. One of the most common sock heel constructions is the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So named, I guess, because the way that you do the short rows, it kind of looks like a fishy kiss. Thank you for the hydrate, Moon. I am using this lovely Hocus Pocus tumbler that someone very special got me. And I hope you're all hydrating along with me. Good cups do make drinks tastier. I'm on my second Gatorade of the day out of that tumbler, which is great. I think I need to pick up some more Mio Sports and just get back into the habit of making my own like electrolyte drinks instead of just having a Gatorade. Although I really enjoy Gatorade. So it has Dr. Pepper, and ginger ale. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. I have a fruit punch Gatorade, my emotional support diapepsis. And then I also have some leftover coffee from this morning, which I don't think I'm going to drink because it's 5:30 at night. I don't know if you can tell. My yarn's getting. Are you going to focus? My yarn's going to getting like super like wrinkly as it's coming out of the skein. I have to go. Drink the coffee. We can play Phasmo until midnight. There's a recipe for good dreams. It's not like I'm doing anything tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow I am going to do a no caffeine run. I've just got to do some. As you know, I was in the hospital for a little bit, and I got some new meds, and I'm still in the process of like figuring out what hex with them and what doesn't, and the best time to take them, and that kind of thing. So tomorrow's experiment is 0 caffeine. So we're gonna see how I'm feeling. You might get a good morning star shines in the server, and then a good night star shines around noon. But yes, Toot and I have been playing lots of Phasmo. Well, she's been playing more than I have. I've been, but usually if she's playing and I'm not, I'm still watching her, keeping her company. It's so much fun. We are studying the blade. We've been watching lots of YouTube tutorials and looking at maps and reading guides and that kind of thing so that we can improve and die a lot less, which makes the game a lot more fun when you're not constantly terrified. Let's count how many rows we have. Good thing I counted. We're at 12. 7 rows? Okay, so you want your socks to have uneven stripes? I'm gonna get my butt haunted for that. Speaking of happy haunts, we've got some very exciting plans in the works for spooky season. I mean, it's always spooky season in our hearts, but for the month of October, the channel is going to be going spooky. So I'm working on finalizing the schedule and that kind of thing. We are definitely going to be playing some Phasmophobia, some Demonologist, for sure. We might be playing some Para Eyes as well. I haven't played the game before, so I'm going to do a couple of test runs. But if it works well, then we're definitely going to be playing some Pair Eyes, which is, in my opinion, one of the best of the I'm on observation duty genre of games. It's like a spot the difference hidden object horror game. Very fun, especially to play with others. And yeah, we're still going to be doing our regular Crafty Chats. That's not going to change. Probably a lot more Chucky sweater and Halloween socks, and these guys should be finished soon. So we'll try and work on our spooky season projects during spooky season. So we're going to have some very scary games, and then we're also going to play some less scary but still spooky related games. If you're familiar with the Dark Side Detective, we're going to be playing that on the channel. It's a point-and-click mystery game full of cryptids and aliens and ghosts and all kinds of fun stuff. And Toot is very hyped for it. I'm very hyped for it as well. I don't know how much of it we're going to get through. There's actually 2 games. I've played through the Dark Side Detective. I have not finished the Dark Side Detective 2. So we're going to start with the first one. But we might get to the second one. I don't know. Kind of depends on how long, if we finish Beacon Pines or not. So Beacon Pines we're going to play on Wednesday. And I don't know how much of that is left. So yeah. But yeah, so spooky season. We're going to be doing some spooky stuff on the channel. I'm very excited. It's going to be so much fun. We might be doing a special stream for Samhain. I haven't settled all the details on that, so I won't share anything about it just yet. But stay tuned for your Halloween plans. My yarn is all kinds of twisted up here, so I'm just gonna see if I can do the old dangle untwist. This is the easiest way to untwist something. There we go. Just spin it out. The worst is when you do the dangle and twist with your cross stitch and the needle. Oh no, yes, that's awful. Especially if it's like picked up momentum and it goes pinging off into the ether. Because it doesn't do it every time. So it like lulls you into a false sense of security that you're going to be okay this time. That this time it's not going to fall off. I was getting a ton of tangling issues with these socks because, sorry, I am working them in stripes. I'm not cutting the yarn between stripes. I'm just carrying it down. But that means that not only do I have 2 colors attached, I'm holding the yarn double. As you can see. So I've actually got 4 balls of yarn attached to this sock at any given moment. So what I've done, sorry, is I have each color in its own Ziploc bag. And you can zip the zip almost all the way. If you're kind of like sitting this in front of you, you can even thread the yarn like one through each side like this, and then just press the zipper closed between them to kind of keep them even further apart. But this is like tossed in a bag, so it keeps drifting. So I did that. So they can't tangle between the threads. They can just tangle around the threads, if that makes sense. It has reduced my tangling. This yarn I'm using, the reason I'm holding it double is I originally picked it up because it's billed as a fingering weight yarn. It's Loops and Threads Woolite. It's 100% acrylic yarn. You can find it at McDonald's. Did you know you can find this yarn at McDonald's? McDonald's has yarn now. No, you can find this at Michael's. It's their house brand, Loops and Threads. No, it's not McDonald's. I was, I meant Michael's. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what my brain was thinking, but apparently it thinks you can get yarn at McDonald's now. It's supposed to be a fingering weight yarn, which is sock weight yarn. Don't try and type fingering yarn in the chat. Nightbot doesn't like it. Would winding the yarn in double threaded balls, could that help with the tangling? It might, but I've had the problem when I've done that, when I've wound balls together, that if you don't keep the tension the same on both strands, you'll have one that's very tight and one that's very loose, because yarn obviously stretches and contracts. So you might end up with stretches where this bottom thread is like nice and tight, and then this top thread is up here like this. And then you end up with all this extra yarn hanging off. So it seems like a good idea in practice, but it seems like a good idea in theory, but in practice, it can lead to some issues. I've done it many times, and I've ended up with issues many times, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a fingering weight yarn. It's supposed to be sock weight. It's a light fingering. It's so skinny. On its own, one of these threads, like it's looking a little bit fluffy. It's got a little bit of a halo, but it's so thin that unless I dropped to a size of needle that I honestly don't own, there's no way I could have gotten a sock gauge. Like, I couldn't have gotten the stitches tight enough to make a fabric tight enough for a pair of socks. Which I didn't realize when I bought it. So I had already bought the yarn. Because it's cheap and it comes in the colors I needed. It comes in this light blue, black, white, and the dark red. What more do you need? I think there's only like 3 or 4 other colors that this yarn comes in. So it was kind of perfect. So I did some experimenting, and holding it double on a 3mm or a 3.25mm gave me the sock weight that I wanted. So it's slightly thicker than fingering weight, slightly thinner than a DK, It's probably somewhere around like a heavy sport. What are yarn weights anyways? But this yarn is so soft. It is such a joy to work with. They are going to be such comfy socks. I gave the almost complete sock to Toot to try on, and she put it on and immediately sat back down and was like, "No, okay, make me another one. You're not getting this one back." I did get it back because I needed to reverse engineer how I did the jaws. Because like I said, I got the idea from Emma Bermudez, who is a designer who does animal socks, very goofy animal socks. I'm sure you've seen them. There are a ton of like Chinese resellers who have made knockoff socks, knockoff like commercial versions of them. And she has a pair of snake socks and the pattern name is Hiss, with 3 S's. So that was like the idea. So the first time I cast them on, I did them according to the pattern, and I didn't like how it happened, how it turned out. And then I was doing the Stephen West MCAL at the same time, and there was a lot of I-cord involved in that. So I got the idea to do an I-cord for the lips, and then pick up the stitches and do the jaws and the short rows, which is great. It turned out great. I really love the way it looks. I love the effect. It was super easy. However, I figured that out in like December, January, somewhere around there. I did all 4 jaws on this sock. So I did this guy, and then I did up to here, and then I stopped working on the sock. So this was all finished. Did I take any notes on how I did it? No. Not a single note. I didn't have a stitch count. I didn't have a technique written down. I remembered that I did the I-cord and the pickup and then the short rows. I left myself no notes. My hubris that I was going to do the second sock right away. So I finished the first sock last week. I finished it really quickly. And then I didn't work on these for a few days because I needed to figure out how I made the first one. I needed to reverse engineer it. And I just didn't have the brains. Like, it was a lot of thinking. And I was not equipped at the time to do a lot of thinking. But as you can see, I figured it out, and we're rolling. I am considering writing up the pattern and providing it for other people who might want to do it. Just because I have changed it so wildly from the initial pattern. And there are DK weights, and the whole technique for the jaws are different. Am I giving them eyes? That's up to you. When it comes down to the time for the red decorations, I was gonna do some tests, see if I could make something. Yeah, I'm basically just gonna knit some yes. Yeah, I'm gonna knit some of the plain white fabric and then test my skills and figure out how I want to do things. I forgot that decrease again. Sorry, guys. Black eyes, though, not red. Yeah, okay. Because for Mr. Sandworm here, this is the back of the sock, so this is the bottom of his jaw. So the original sandworm would have a large red eye here, and then a smaller yellow eye here with red like freckles here. I have spent so much time looking at pictures of sandworms. So much time. Like, I even considered for the big eyes here doing like safety eyes from like a stuffed animal, which would be cute, but I don't know how comfortable it would be. Actually, let me see if I can get this set up here. Alright, we're gonna hop on over. I'm gonna see if I can get this properties. All right, that kind of works. But this is what a sandworm looks like. So you can see it's got the large red, like kind of almost fake eye on the outside, and then there's the stripy teeth that I was talking about, and then the kind of angry yellow eye. There's the large red lips with the white teeth, and then the kind of red speckles. So yeah, so I've got to figure it out. I've got to do some testing, because I want them to look right. So Toot says they're not a fan of the red, so their instinct is to use the least amount of red, but would it bug you for it to be inaccurate? Yeah, we'll have to. Well, I will do some testing. And before I do anything on the socks themselves, Toot and I will sit down and just figure out what's going to look the best. But this whole project has been very fun. I like doing fandom knits when you're trying to recreate something from a show or something in homage to. I mean, I've got my Chucky sweater on the needles. I've got my DJ Music Man sweater. I almost did a Mon Calamari fisherman sweater from Mandalorian. I talked myself out of that one at the last minute. And yes, I want to do the like V-neck cardigan from Phasmo. One of the player character models has this like dusty green V-neck cardigan situation on. It's very cute. And my brain is already like, okay, so if I did that in Amigo, I could get the dusty green, the dusty sage color. I was actually looking at because if I was gonna do the Phasmo sweater, I'd want to get one of the badge patches for the sleeve. So I was looking on Etsy to see if anyone had made any yet, and unfortunately, there aren't any really there aren't that specific patch. There's lots of Phasmo products on Etsy. It's really funny. There is one patch that says "What's my sanity at," um, which I found funny. So, Toot has just put up the prediction poll. We are once again doing our POW betting pool. So you can wager your channel points. We have the contenders today are Pink Lady Apple versus Canned Peach. I honestly don't know which way it's gonna go. She likes peaches, but last week was a total apple upset, so it could be the apple. You have half an hour to get your bets in while I get my yarn untangled. Half an hour to get your bets in. We're going to feed her around 6:30. So go ahead, wager those channel points, and we'll see who the winner is. Votes are pretty split so far. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. She's doing the laps. She knows it's coming. She's making sure Wendy knows who's in charge. Yeah. No treat eat for Wendy, only for POW. She really doesn't like Wendy. I should probably count and see how many more decreases I have to do. So I had said earlier that my usual sock is 64 stitches, but because I'm doing these out of like yarn held double with heavier needles, I'm doing 48 stitches around, which means that each round is going even faster because it's like nothing at all. Two more decrease rounds. And seeing when to decrease gets a lot harder in the black yarn. Actually, let's see. Let there be light. Hydrate, thank you. Between Moon and Toot, I'm gonna be well hydrated today. that like, sorry, I leaned away from the mic. So you can see it here, that decreased stitch there. So I want a decreased stitch, and then 1, 2, 3, decreased stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then another decreased stitch. So now I need to figure out, but as you can see, seeing where I decreased in the black yarn is incredibly difficult. I missed my last decrease. Heck. That's okay. We'll just add an extra one in here. It's all good. There are no mistakes, only happy accidents. Except in knitting, there are actually mistakes. I do not have to frog, luckily. What you witnessed there was tinking. Now, frogging is when you pull something out completely. When you, perhaps, rip it. Tinking is when you knit backwards. I don't know who came up with these terms, but they're the ones that we all use. So I am in the market for some new DPNs, since I am using them so much more. I would like to have smaller sizes not in wood. I'll show you guys in a little bit why the wood DPNs get harder to use the smaller they get. But I'm sure you can see the tensile strength of wood when it's 2 millimeters thick. It's not high. It's not high. So I definitely want to replace my wood needles with metal. I'm looking at the Knit Pro Basics, which are very cheap, which is great. They're very cheap. They're a little bit hard to come by, but I can order them from Wool Warehouse for not very much. Wool Warehouse is a UK supplier. Could I use toothpicks? Probably. Just polish them up a little bit, sand them down. But in my heart of hearts, what I really want is more zings. Zings are my favorite DPNs. So I might save my pennies and get some zings further on down the road. Just deal with what I have now and get some zings instead. I mean, it's not a huge price difference. The price on the basics is £1.99, and the price on the zings is £4.99, which is like technically more than twice the price, but it's not that big of a difference overall. Your male spawn point made some needles from dowels. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Lots of people have made needles from lots of different materials. There are some beautiful hand-turned wooden needles that you can buy on Etsy and things like that. I saw some gorgeous hand-turned crochet hooks. I've heard that the difficulty in making knitting needles like on a DIY level is that you need to get them incredibly because we're talking about difference of a millimeter or half a millimeter can make a huge difference in the knitted item. So that's a very, very fine point to walk with like a handcrafter's tools. You've got to use like incredibly precise calipers and that kind of thing. I was speaking to a woodworker, and they made some yarn bowls and things like that because they realized there was a market for it. And I asked if they had like needle gauges or anything like that, and she had said that they didn't get into the needle gauge business basically because it was so difficult. You had to be so precise. Of course, if you're not really making garments and if you're making things like scarves and hats and dishcloths, then you don't need to be as super precise. And if you're making very thick needles, like once you get up to like 8 millimeters, half a millimeter isn't going to make that much of a difference. But the jump from say 3.5 to 4 millimeters is huge in terms of gauge. The jump from 8 millimeters to 8.5 millimeters, not so big. I did look for zings on Amazon because I know you can purchase them. I'm not paying $20 for a single set of DPNs. I'm just not doing it. Some people do, and that's fine. Especially when you get into the Leica and Chow Goos and Haya needles. They can be very high end, and I mean, quality tool. There's something to be said about investing in quality tools. Knit Pro and Knitter's Pride are as quality as I'm going to be willing to invest in. But you can see that there's a huge difference between paying $20 on Amazon and paying £5 on Wool Warehouse. So I don't know where that markup is coming from, but it's nuts. Shoot, sorry guys. Hope I'm not making anyone seasick. So that was my last decrease round. So now I'm just going to be doing 12 row stripes until I get to the heel. So let's count how many stripes that actually is. We've got our white here, And then let's count white stripes no, black stripes. Because I need to break the yarn after that black stripe. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black stripes. We're on the second one. And then I have to break the yarn because otherwise I will have like so you can see that there's this float which stretches the length of the stripe. And if I don't break the black yarn, weave it in, and then pick it up on the other side of the heel, this float will basically be blocking the heel and will make it impossible to wear. So these are some of my zings that I have. I thought I grabbed 3 different sizes, but I didn't. So they're 6 inches. They are printed with the needle size. This is a US 7 4.5 millimeter. They are a little bit blunt. You can kind of see the tip is a little bit squared off instead of pointy, which is fine for my knitting style. I like it. I like them a little bit more blunt than stabby, especially because I tend to push the needle with my thumb while I'm knitting. But what I really like about the zings, in addition, they're really nice to work with. This is a 3.5 millimeter. Every size is a different color. So even if the text rubbed off, or if you had to put your readers on and you couldn't read the text, you can see what needles belong to what set very easily, which is great because I kind of have all of my DPNs just yeeted in a glass jar right now. I'm probably going to move them into my needle case just because the scraping sound of metal on glass is not so fun when I pull them out of the jar and when I rattle around in the jar. But yeah, I love these needles. They're the Knit. So Knit Pro and Knitter's Pride and Knit Picks, it's all the same brand. It just depends where it's being sold. Toot Big hates that sound. Yeah, I know. So maybe after stream I will work on getting these boys into my needle case instead. So yeah, more of these might be happening. All right, I won't put these ones away. I'll just put them on the table over here. These are Takumi, I believe is the brand. I got them for super cheap from like Wish or AliExpress, something like that. They're very cheap. They do have the size printed on them incredibly small, and it's already worn off. Like there's no way you'll be able to see that. Yeah, there's no way. But they work for what I'm using them for, which is all I can really ask. And I didn't want to make these hibernate while I waited for better needles. Well, hello, Miss. Have you also come to start an ad break? Hello. Toot has redeemed the cat summons. Alright, it's time to summons the cats. Let me just finish this needle so I don't lose any stitches. Bella, you don't want to go anywhere. We're going to summons some cats. You have about 10 minutes to get your votes in for the prediction poll. Will Pow go for a pink lady apple versus a canned peach? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have no idea how this one's going to go. But for sure, we know that Bella is about to get a treat. What is that? Ellie, you want to come scream into the mic? What's that? We have one. We have two. Hello, Gigi. We actually have three. Early is sleeping next to me, and she's going to get a treat for being a good girl. Bella, come on, move. Let your brother have some treats. Oh god, my hand is so wet now. Ugh. Bella, you're so drooly. Bella, keep moving. Keep moving, little girl. Gigi. This is what you have done to me. Gigi boy. Gigi is desperately trying to get some treats. Gigi, come here. Come on. Come on, handsome boy. Hello, handsome boy. Gigi's here. Gigi. Gigi. You have to come back for your treat. Gigi. Gigi. We did it, guys. We got him. Gigi got treats. All is well in the world. There's still a little bit of treat there, baby. Gigi, you missed some. Okay, bye. Alright, well, that was a lovely treat. Eat. Cat summons, I should say. Binks, back. Binks, do you want part of a treat? Binks. Just a little Binks. Little Binks. The chaos. Well, I hope you guys all take this time to also get a little treat for yourself. Love your kitters. Bella's back looking for scraps. Alright, guys, we're going to be closing submissions very shortly for the POW poll. Get in your guesses now. If you're in the Discord, you might have seen I fixed a sweater for Toot yesterday. It's been on my to-do list forever. My to-do list. I finally got around to it yesterday. It's folded up on my desk. I need to put it away. I just have to figure out where to put it away because the cats keep curling up on them. It's time for the song. All right, friends, that is it. We are going to be feeding Pow her treat any second now. You got a few more seconds to get those bets in. Is she going to go for the pink lady apple? Is she going to go for the canned peach? We're about to find out. Let's switch on over to the Pow cam. See what she's up to here. Oh, she's coming. She knows something's happening. She coming. All right, it's time. It's time to see who will win. Yes, Pow has been barricaded We're trying to keep this fair. So we've got peaches on the left there, apples on the right. We're going to release the POW momentarily. All right. Okay, we're giving POW a little bit of enrichment so she can figure out how to get there. Oh, there she goes. She's pushing aside. Yeah, down goes the mermaid. Down goes the mermaid. And POW is on it. POW is motoring towards that fruit. She knows what's up. Will it be the peach first? Oh, it looks like it might be the peach first. Or the apple? No. Oh, someone has a clear favorite there. In a surprise upset victory, we have an absolute victory for the peaches. Swift and decisive. Look at POW go. Look at those peaches. I didn't expect that either. All right, let's choose the outcome here. The peaches have won. Congrats if you voted for Peach. That was a decisive and swift victory. There was no hemming and hawing there. Oh, now she's just staring down the camera. I see that Moon and But You Got My Soul both went for the apples. I mean, after last week's decisive apple victory, I am not surprised that you did. Like, that's very shocking. And the apples were even closer to her once she knocked over the mermaid. But man, she wants them peaches. And of course, I have to do my brief streamer thing. Every time you subscribe, every time you cheer bits, every time you donate through the coffee, you are donating towards these treat eats. We use the extra little bit of income to improve our children's habitats, to buy them treats like this, to buy them food. You are able to help us get some great new toys for the cats, and yeah, your support makes treat eats like this possible, and yeah, it helps me grow my channel, and it helps all around. Oh no, she's kicking that apple aside. The neck stretch on her though. Well, definitely take this time to grab a snack with POW. Some fresh fruit, always a good idea. A smoothie, maybe. Stand up, stretch, crack your neck, crack your fingers, stretch out those arms, stretch out those legs, shake them out. Grab something to drink, stare down the camera. Wait, no, that's just POW. But definitely grab something to drink, get settled in. We're going to go for a little bit longer just hanging out and knitting, watching POW be the Destructitron that she is. Oh, now you're going after the apples? Now it might be apple time. Oh, no, it's peach time. Still peach time. Oh man, that piece of peach just disappeared. You have to breathe while you eat, too. She will go back for the apples. Like I said, I'm really surprised she didn't go after the apple. Oh no, peach down. All right. Well, we'll let Pal finish up her snack there. You can keep watching her up in the corner. And as always, if you ever have any questions about Pal or any of our critters, just let me know. I love talking about them. And I am happy to answer any questions or give random facts. Oh, before I go back into this, I wanted to tell you guys. So, we went through all of my whips last week, right? Every single whip. All of them. I only had 13. We should give her cotton candy grapes sometime, see what she prefers. Yes, that would be interesting. Regular grapes versus cotton candy grapes. Different flavors of things. Oh, you're just really done with that apple, huh? Oh dear. She'll come back for it. She always comes back for it. The one I want to do is egg versus mango. She loves her some eggs. Anyways. We went through all 13 of my whips last Monday. I've cast on 2 new things since then. Don't judge me, I had a rough week. Actually, judge me all you like, because I shouldn't have cast on 2 things, but I did! So, I'm going to show them to you now. In the interests of full transparency. Because, like, I had my... I had my sandworm socks that, like, I flew through, and I'm like, I'm gonna finish these really quickly. But then I had to stop and think about them, and I wanted something new. I don't have to justify myself to you. It's my stream. So the first project that I have, I stopped in the middle of a row for some reason. But this is the Kalani blouse. Not a big fan of the word blouse, but that's what the pattern is called. It's looking pretty crumpled right now because I stopped in the middle of a row, so I can't really show you the full thing. Anyways, it's like a V-neck raglan. It's in this beautiful Irish moss stitch texture, which is just a joy to knit. And then it's got some really nice raglan detailing here. It is really soft. So this yarn is Karen Big Cakes in the color Summer Berry Tart. Karen Big Cakes is one of my favorite yarns to work with. It feels really good. It's like a round, plump yarn. It's acrylic. It's soft, but it isn't like splitty. Anyways, so I started this. It's a really simple pattern, totally mindless, and it's been great just as something to work on. I am going to be putting it aside for a little bit and focusing on the sandworm socks and then the Chucky raglan. But because this is a self-striping yarn, all the color changes I don't need to worry about. It's just straight knitting. And it's going to have this lovely kind of deep V-neck. And I-cord, like I'm going to pick up for an I-cord collar and do I-cord cuffs and hem? Cuffs and hem? Is that the word I'm looking for? Anyways, it's a detail I just really like, the I-cord stuff. So I cast that on, and I've actually done quite a bit because been good to like zone out for. And then I just really wanted to cast on some socks, so I did. I didn't get very far on them because I cast on the cuff and then I basically didn't do anything else. I don't know how much I'm going to get done on these. Because as you know, I've got 4 pairs of socks on the needles now. And I do want to finish my chicken scratch socks before I get before I kind of totally get distracted by these. But they're just a vanilla sock. My usual formula. I did the cuff in the Gentry Gray from Patton's Croy. And then this blue-green beautiful yarn. I was feeling the bug to work with one of my hand-dyed yarns, which this is the only one I have left, really. I have one more that I dyed myself, which doesn't seem as fun. But I was really feeling the hand-dyed bug. So I'm working on these. This is Indigo Dragonfly is the name of the dyer. They're actually fairly local to us. They're in Ontario. I bought this yarn, God, like 15, 16 years ago, like a long time ago. Well, maybe not that long. Actually, yeah, maybe that long. Maybe that long. And the name of the color is Sesame Streetwalker, which is just a fantastic name for a color. And it's these beautiful, like, blues and murky greens. And yeah, I love it. So this is just a plain vanilla sock. This will probably be my out and about knitting project. And I probably won't touch it other than that because it's not a very high priority. I just really wanted to cast on a hand-dyed sock. So I did, because it's my knitting and I can do what I want. That being said, I want to finish some other stuff. Oh, yes, like I was saying, so this is, as you can see, these are wooden needles. This is a 2.25, I believe it's also Takumi. And you can see, I'm not going to put too much pressure on it because I don't want to snap it. But, she bendy. She very bendy. So, it's a bit of a, you have to be a little bit gentle with it, but still maintain your tension. Am I talking about Toot? Toot is also bendy, but I was talking about my needles. But Toot, very bendy. Yes, like my needles, Toot, too bendy. But you can see, so that was a 2.25 millimeter needle. This is a 3.25 millimeter needle. So a millimeter difference in diameter. And that's what the measurements are. It's the diameter. So just a millimeter difference. And these look thicker and like they're not very bendy at all. Like I'm having to put significant pressure on them to get them to bend at all. I know it looks so much thicker and it's just a millimeter. So you can see, like I was saying, like you have to be super precise. 3.25 millimeters are like mine. They look much thicker, and they're not very bendy. So that's me and Toot. I did see those. Dude just sent me a Ghost Hunter patch for her eventual Phasmo sweater. I have seen the Ghost Hunter patch. They also have a Cryptid Hunter patch. I think that same shop also had an I Want to Believe patch. I cleared out my closet the other day. I don't know if I mentioned this on stream last week, but I went through my entire closet, pulled out everything that doesn't fit, that's all worn out, and there were a couple of t-shirts that, you always have those t-shirts that they don't fit, but you don't want to get rid of them because they're like sentimental. Yay, Pow got to the apples. Let's go check on Pow. Oh, okay, never mind. So you've always got that t-shirt that's like, all right, heck, Wendy. That you don't really want to give away. And I'm usually pretty good at giving those away. But there's one, it's a Figrin Dan and the Cantina Band t-shirt, and it's done up like a band poster, but Figrin Dan is the it's the band from the Cantina in Star Wars. So it's extra nerdy, but it's like niche nerdy, like super nerdy. I love it. But I can't wear it anymore, unfortunately. So I held on to it. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll make a pillow out of it, because the poster is nice and rectangular. It would be pretty easy to cut down and make a poster. I wouldn't have to do much measuring. Not a poster, make a pillow out of it. And then Toot found on TikTok, someone had like a little tutorial on taking those old t-shirts and then sewing them onto the back of a hoodie. So you find a hoodie that fits you, and then you basically use the t-shirt as a giant patch. And I love that idea because I think that would look really cool with the Figrin Dan. But now I want to get a couple of like patches for the arms of the sweater. And there's another t-shirt. There was another Star Wars t-shirt that I put into the donate bag that I might fish out and add to this eventual Star Wars sweater. So I changed my mind. I'm not going to do the we're just watching Pow now. I know I haven't changed it back. So I'm not going to do the pillow. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to like add a few different things and make it like just a really cool, comfy sweater. I'm going to do a zip hoodie. I can get one fairly cheap on Amazon, but I might go looking when we go to the mall for more clothes, and that way I can get one that I know is going to fit really well. Also, since making my go full 90s and get a jean jacket, don't tempt me. Don't threaten me with a good time. I already have a leather jacket I can put it on the back of. Except hand sewing through leather sounds like not a fun time. Alright, Pow's done with us. But what was I saying? Yes, ever since I made the Superstar Daycare toque and used a patch that I had gotten from Etsy on that, I really love the look of that, and I kind of want to do it again. trying to see if I can find. Yes, that's it. Okay, so this isn't going to be the best quality. But I'm going to hop on over to this, and we're going to go look at this one. So this is the Phasmo sweater we were talking about, which is I thought it was a cardigan, but it's not. It's just like this really tight, well-fitting V-neck pullover. In kind of this dusty green with a darker green cuff and hem, and this nice low V-neck. And then there's well, you can actually see my mouse on screen, I think. And then there's a patch on the arm here. That was added in the latest update. So yeah, this is the sweater that I want to make for Toot now. And there is a little bit of like texture to the sweater. Like I'll have to grab some screenshots and really zoom in on them. But there is some texture to the sweater. I think it might be ribbed or maybe a waffle stitch. So yeah. My favorite thing about the knitting community is whenever there's a knitted item in anything, there will be at least one person who has asked the internet, do you know a pattern for this? Toot would prefer ribbed. Yeah, I'm thinking ribbed because then it would be like really nice and fitted. It would be super cozy. Phasmo cosplay, yeah. Add a little like loop on the shoulder to slide a flashlight in. I could braid her hair like that too, because that's the player model that has like the 2 braids. Oh no, is Pow just stomping through the apples? Oh no. Heck your channel points. I won't do what you think I'm gonna do. How lives to confuse and annoy. But yes, I kind of like the idea of simple knits with like a cool fandom patch, or doing the commercial hoodie with the t-shirt and the patches, and just kind of putting something together that way. It is quite a 90s look, but I like it because I am 90s. If I was going like really 90s, I would sew it down, sew the t-shirt patch down, but leave the edges like raw and then fray them a little bit. Don't tuck them under and do a overcast stitch or anything. I actually didn't get rid of that many t-shirts, and I didn't have very many that I kept. I thought I had way more t-shirts just like lurking in the back of my closet than I actually did. But it was really nice to go through and figure out like what I have and what I don't have, especially what I want to buy, what I want to make for myself. Because I've got the Chucky pullover on the needles, which is going to be kind of like, it's not light, but it's not super heavy. It's just kind of a medium weight pullover that I think would just look nice with like jeans or something. The Rosenlund top that I'm working on is going to be a beautiful sweater vest. And I don't have any. I have one sweater vest left. I thought I had more. I do not. But I look good. No, I like the white button down with like a sweater or sweater vest over it look for myself. I think it's flattering. I like it. I look spiffy. I might play with like the K-pop slip over and white t-shirt look. I don't know. Don't know if I can pull that one off. That's okay. I'm not sure I understood half the words I just said either. There's a look. I don't know. The youth do it. I might look good in it. We'll see. Bella's curled up on my desk, so I'm making creepy noises at her. You know, as you do when you're a father. My son has come out to say hello. Penny is just hanging out at the front of his enclosure watching us. He's here for Crafty Chat. He wants to learn how to do crafts because Binks knit him a pair of slippers for Christmas last year, and he wants to make something nice for her. He also doesn't have the heart to tell her that he doesn't have feet, so he can't use the slippers. Yep, back to the white. We did 12 rows of black. It's actually very satisfying that I have to do six black stripes of 12 rows. Those numbers are nice. And it's 48 stitches around. Those are very pleasing numbers. I like numbers that are divisible by 12. So I also, while I was casting on new projects, doing reorganizing crafty things, I moved my Halloween socks to DPNs. I have one set of metal DPNs in sock sizes and 2 sets of wooden. So my chicken scratcher on the metal, the sock I just showed you is on one of the woodens, and the Halloween sock is now on the other. So probably after I finish the sandworm socks, those socks will move into that kind of slot in the forefront of my brain. And they should be another fairly quick finish because they are so vanilla now. The leg on these boys is about 18 inches long. And I think I'm at 14 inches for the Halloween sock. They are knee highs, obviously. A standard sock length. For leg, it's about 6 inches. 6 inch for like the regular crew socks, and then people usually do 2 inches or even 1.5 inches for ankle socks. I do about 2 inches for ankle socks. I do 20 rows of ribbing and then move right into my heel. Watching the motions is so relaxing. Well, I'm glad you think so. It is very, like, soothing. Unfortunately, it's so soothing that sometimes if I'm knitting something like this that's just straight stockinette, just knit stitch after knit stitch, I kind of start to doze off because I'm too chill. Then you need to pick a more complicated project. You can see if I slow down at this point, I'm not really using the tip of my finger to push this needle. I'm kind of using the side of my finger. But if these needles were sharper, I would definitely be starting to develop some holes there. Especially because as I bring it around, I push on that side as well. Like if I go real slow, I hook the yarn around, down, grab the needle again, push it around, push it through. So if I'm working with, so that's why I like working with blunter needles, because I am a needle pusher. I can do it without pushing the needles. That's just, it's all muscle memory at this point. So eventually I will start remembering. But some people do, like, I mean, I've definitely developed little cracks and holes in my fingers from where I use them to maneuver the needles around. Some people use like KT tape or band-aids or things like that, or even just straight up thimbles to help with the skin breakdown. If I'm not using sharp needles, I don't find it too difficult because I more use the side of my finger than the pad of it, or the kind of ease the needle down instead of pushing it. So there's like a little mnemonic for remembering how to make a knit stitch, and it's like watch the bunny go around and then it goes in the hole, and then I don't know, the bunnies have a birthday cake or something like that. I can never remember the actual one. The one that I always remember is stab it, strangle it, scoop out its guts, throw it off a cliff. Which is so much easier to remember. Like, that one sticks with you. Stab it, strangle it, scoop out its guts, throw it off the cliff. So you can see that my yarn kind of, like, as I'm turning, it's getting caught on the other needles and that kind of thing. That's one of the reasons that I like using the shorter lengths. Um, 6-inch and 8-inch are, no, 6-inch and 7-inch? 15 centimeters and 20 centimeters, whatever that works out to, are kind of like the standard DPN lengths. And I just find these slightly too long to be comfortable. Like even holding them in my hand, they're slightly too big. And again, it's one of those things where you wouldn't think that like a little bit of an inch or two would make that big of a difference in terms of comfort, but it really does. And everyone has their own method of working with DPNs. You can see I keep these two kind of within my thumbs like this, instead of working like this or working like that. I keep them kind of tucked up there. It keeps them out of the way and it keeps stuff from hooking on them. So DPNs might look a little bit difficult to work with at first because it's like knitting with a hedgehog. You are dealing with 4 needles at a time, but you're not really. You're working with 2 needles at a time, and the other 2 are just holding on to stitches until you get there. Like you can see, I'm working with these 2 needles here. And these 2 needles are just holding the stitches. So I just kind of like tuck them in there. They're out of the way. They're not poking me. They're not doing any damage. And you do kind of have to readjust and turn it every like third of the stitches. But I find that less annoying than with Magic Loop, where you're readjusting halfway through the round instead of a third of the way through the round. You're only adjusting once per round instead of twice. Anyways, 1 less needle. But the actual like time period of adjusting, like pulling the needle through and getting the stitches back onto the needle off of the cable, I just find DPNs are a lot faster because you're not kind of fighting with the join and moving things around quite so dramatically. If I'm working on one thing at a time and it's a small diameter, DPNs are just kind of easier. I don't think I would want to try doing a sweater on DPNs. I know that it's doable. You can get giant DPNs because that's how sweaters used to be made in the round. Before the like circular needles were invented. You can see the old Shetland knitters had DPNs, so double pointed needles like this, but they were like 2 feet long, and you'd have the entire sweater hanging off of them. And they were kind of scary. They look very intimidating. And those were usually used with the belt knitting technique. So they would take this pointy end, which would be quite pointy, and they would be wearing a belt, like a thick leather belt, and then with like little notches on it, and then they would stick the needle into the notch on the belt, and that would hold the needle secure while they worked with it up here. And it would help redistribute the weight of the knitted work, so it's not all resting on your hands. A lot of it is resting then on your waist, which makes a lot of sense when you're knitting like large, heavy garments. Because if you've ever knit or crocheted a blanket and you kind of get to the halfway point, and that's a lot of weight to just like have to deal with. Thank you for the hydrate, dude. So Toot is working on a cross stitch. He's been sharing pictures of it in the Discord. It is gorgeous. It's huge. It's really massive, but is really cute. It's a hyena, which is my favorite animal. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that all finished. So I won't ask Toot what she's working on. The hyena piece. But if you guys are all also crafting along, let me know what you're working on. As always, if you have any questions about what you're working on, or you need an opinion, or you're not quite sure how to do something, please let me know. Toot says, I'm making a hyena. Yes. I was editing I was having a small stroke, apparently. I was editing the videos for Beacon Pines, and I had forgotten about the hyena character. He's so pretty. Pretty sure he's going to be a villain, because hyenas are always villains. Thanks, Disney. So keep an eye out. The part 1 of our Beacon Pines playthrough is coming out tomorrow on the YouTube. I am slowly getting back into the swing of taking our thanks for the to just throw up the YouTube links there. I am slowly getting back into the swing of taking the games that we play together here on the channel and editing them down into kind of shorter versions for the YouTube channel. So that's on the main YouTube channel, the Cozy DH. You'll also see Crafty Chat highlights, and then edited gameplay. If you missed a stream and it's been more than a week, because Twitch only keeps the VODs for a week, I have been uploading them to the Cozy VODs channel. So if you missed a week, if you are sitting down for a crafting marathon and you just need some background, you can put on one of our old Crafty Chat streams. Anything like that. And if you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channels, I would really appreciate it if you would. It just really helps me here as well as there, and it makes me happy. It gives me a smile. Thank you. And I hope I'm gonna hopefully be back to posting YouTube content on the reg. So if you aren't able to make a stream, if you didn't catch a game the first time, I am still working my way through the footage for Mail Time, still working my way through the footage for Dredge. So eventually the entire playthrough of Dredge will be up, as well as for Mail Time, as well as for Beacon Pines. We've got Garden Witch Life videos there. If you missed Garden Witch Life, that was a closed beta. that we were incredibly lucky to play and be able to share with you guys. There's going to be Pico videos, all kinds of cool stuff. All kinds of cool stuff. If you want to see my opinion on some of the demos for games that are coming out around now, I played Cosmic Witch Sisterhood and Spirit Swap, Paleo Pines. Those videos are all up on the YouTube channel as well. Paleo Pines was running a fan contest on their Twitter, I want to say. Just like kind of show us how hype you are for Paleo Pines. Someone actually got a tattoo of Lucky the Parasaurolophus from Paleo Pines, which it just feels a little bit early for a game that isn't even out yet. Although Lucky is incredibly cute, so if you just wanted a cute Parasaurolophus tattoo, you got one. I was really hyped for Paleo Pines because of the aforementioned cute Parasaurolophus. But I don't know, I just didn't really click with the game. Well, yeah, you have a Yono tattoo, but that was after you played through the entire game. And it's one of your absolute favorites, and it means a lot to you. Yes, one of Toot's tattoos is from Yono and the Celestial Elephants, which is a very adorable, like, I'm trying to think of the genre, like a puzzle platformer, almost. Very light on the platforming. That it's in the kind of the back of my mind to play on the channel at some point. Because I haven't actually played it myself. I've watched Toot play some of it, but I haven't played it myself. I think we have it on both Switch and Steam, so it'd be nice and easy to play. But it's really cute. You play as Yono, who is a young elephant trying to find their place in the world, and it's a really cute little game, but can be surprisingly difficult in places. But back when I was thinking about starting the channel, so before I had even started the channel, Yono was on my short list of games to play on stream. I've got a very sweet little kidder sleeping next to me. So if you know our cats, you've seen her on stream before, but Early, the white and gray, she has been feeling very shy in the month since I had to take my little break. And only in the last few days that she started coming out again. She started sleeping in the bed next to me. She started sleeping like in the open on a chair. She isn't hiding all the time. It is so sweet to see. So I came into the room this morning, and I had set up my little office in the other room, and I was gonna go work on some YouTube stuff. And Early was sleeping in her little cat bed, which is next to my armchair. And I said, Early, you want to come to work with Daddy? And she immediately, like, perked right up got out of bed, stretched, came padding after me. It was the cutest thing. I was deceased. She changed her mind and went to get food instead, but still, it was super cute. She is a little sweetheart. So what else have I been working on this past week? So you saw the Kalani. That's the Kalani and the sandworm socks have been kind of the two major projects I've been focusing on. I finished all the knitting for Moon's housewarming gift. I just have some crochet left to do. But I finished all like the stuff that I wanted to knit. So that was nice. That felt like a check, even though it's not completely finished. And yeah, that's about it. Just really those two projects and a little bit of stuff for Moon. I started to keep kind of track of what I'm working on day to day. I actually got this idea from Moon. She cross stitches, as you might be aware if you've seen her posts about her latest project in the Discord, or if you follow her on Twitch as well. She shows off her cross stitching prowess. We're very happy that we got Moon hooked on cross stitch. But Moon started tracking how many stitches she does every day, which I thought was a great idea. Thank you for the shout out for Moon there. You can go check her out on Twitch. She's mainly a Valorant streamer, does a few other things. We're probably going to be playing together a little bit during October, and so you'll get to see her in action. But she does manage to make competitive FPS look cozy, so go check out Moon. Fantastic community, fantastic streamer. We love her to pieces. But she started tracking the number of stitches that she was doing every day, so I started doing that too. And then, of course, I can't just work on cross stitch because you know me. That's impossible. So I started just keeping a little log of what I was knitting during the day as well, and kind of like what I got accomplished. Which has been nice because I can kind of see like where my time is going and if I'm hyper focusing on something. So I made a little Notion spread for it, and it links back to the project pages in Notion. So it's nice to see like, oh, I got a lot done that day. Oh, I didn't get very much done that day. But, you know, I still got a little bit done, and that's good. Am I ahead of schedule and stuff? Am I behind? So I think, because these socks I want to get done by Halloween, I think I'm going to get there. Moon's housewarming gift, second week of October, let's say. First week of October. First week of October, and that gives me a little bit of a buffer to get it in the mail. Gonna get that done. I've got 2 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks there. The Halloween socks might not get done for this spooky season. They might, but they will probably get done shortly after Halloween, if not before. And then there's Chucky sweater, which may or may not get done before Halloween. I am like painstakingly close on the Chucky sweater. I had a thought. So, Stephen West, in his infinite wisdom. Stephen West is a fantastic designer. I am having FOMO over not doing the MCAL this year. I'm not going to do the MCAL this year. I'm not letting myself talk myself into it. I'm just not doing it this year. But he put out a sweater pattern recently that immediately jumped to the top of my queue. But I don't have the yarn for it. I'd have to buy yarn. But I was looking at my yarn for the Chucky pullover, and I might have enough yarn to make the fragmentation just out of Chucky leftovers. Like Chucky leftovers plus a couple other things in my stash. So I want to finish Chucky basically to see how much yarn I have left and what I can do with what I have left over. Because I know I have an entire sweater's quantity of that yarn in like a soft pink. Soft pink isn't really my color. I want to make a cabled sweater for Toot out of that. Kind of saving that for that. It's Hobby Amigo, by the way, which is a fantastic yarn. I love it. It's technically a DK weight, but I find that it works up from anywhere from like a heavy sport to a light fingering. I've definitely used it to a light fingering. Nope. To a light worsted. I've definitely used it as a worsted before. It has a nice drape on a 5mm. It has a nice drape on a 3.5mm. So it's really versatile yarn. It's 100% acrylic. It's a solid. So it's great for color work and that kind of thing. Honestly, it's probably what I'm going to make the Phasmophobia jumper out of. Jumper. I'm British now. Just because they have so many colors, and it's a yarn I'm familiar with, and it's a yarn that I know Toot will happily wear. I've made 1, 2. No, that one wasn't out of it. 1, 2. Has it only been 2 sweaters for you out of the Amigo? Moon Moth and the Hocus Pocus. Ghosty Cat was not out of Amigo. I'm losing my mind. I've made at least 2 sweaters for her out of it, and it's great. It's a great yarn. Toot has no brain. Please leave a message at the beep and she'll return your call when the brain cell is free. Beep. Oh no, I'm the brain cell. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. If I don't have a brain cell and you don't have a brain cell, then who's flying the plane? Never trust us to fly a plane. Oh, Moon's flying the plane? Okay, good. Phew. Well, guys, it's a little early, but I think I'm going to wrap the stream up. Mainly because I just reached for my tumbler and my shoulder twinge, which is usually a good sign that I need to stop knitting for the night. So gonna put down the knitting, do some stretches, maybe take a bath or a hot shower, get that shoulder in fighting shape again. If it starts to hurt, stop what you're doing. That is always, always good advice, especially when crafting. I know sometimes we don't want to stop. Bye, Kiara. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate the follow so much. So yes, take care of yourselves. If what you're doing is starting to hurt, don't try to push it. Don't try to deal with it. Take a break. Do some stretches. Take a break. People always ask, like, oh, should I just switch crafts? No. Take a break. And maybe soak it, do some ice, do some cold. That kind of thing. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me for Monday Night Crafty Chat. If Kiara, if you just came in, I'm sorry, but we are wrapping things up. Toot has thrown up some links there. There are links to the YouTube. I was talking about the YouTube earlier. The highlights from this stream should go up on Sunday before the next Monday Night Crafty Chat. Last week's Crafty Chat, I'm going to try and get that out Saturday so that we don't really fall behind on Crafty Chats anyways. I did have a stretch where like the last 3 videos on the channel were Crafty Chats. I felt a little bit bad because like I swear I do gaming too. But yes, if you haven't checked out the YouTube, please hop on over there. If you like what you see, like the videos, drop a comment, drop a subscribe. Everything helps. There are a few ways to support us as well that Nightbot just threw up in the chat. You can check out our Ko-fi, you can check out our Etsy. But of course, just hanging out and being here with us is amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the resub, but you got my soul. Thank you for the follow by Kiara. Thanks for all the follows I got when I was offline, if any of you are lurking. I posted on Instagram that I was at 99 followers and I just needed one more, and a buddy of mine actually created a Twitch account to follow me, which was super cute. So we are going to be back on Wednesday for Beacon Pines. Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to play a little bit of Beacon Pines, and then Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern again, we're going to be back playing some Palia. And Palia, I'm going to get your guys' input on what we're going to be doing. It's not just going to be me running around like crazy. I'm going to get you guys to suggest what you want to see out of that Palia stream. So until then, I will see you in the Discord. I will see you in my heart. We'll see you on Wednesday. And have a great Tuesday. We are going to raid out. We are going to go raid Pix. He is a fellow crafter, fellow YouTuber, fellow Canadian. I think they're doing something to do with Yoshi, it looks like. I don't know. Pix is always a good time. He's very high energy, so it might be a little bit of a tonal shift from our chill stream. But I hope you enjoy, so I'm just going to get that raid started. Hop on over, show Pix Justin some love, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for coming. Love you all. Bye-bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye-bye. Bye.